morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. Yes, we are in full swing on the resurrection weekend here. And so, I just wanted to quickly share a couple things with you. And one is, I was at the grocery store a couple days ago, and I got these hyacinth. They're pink hyacinths. Each plant had 3 bulbs in there. So, could let these bloom, and then I will be planting them out in the garden once it warms up a little bit. It's still quite cold here, but at least there's no snow, so that's a good thing, right? But the other thing that I was curious about is, do you ever, break tradition when it comes to what you eat on Easter? Do you have a tradition? When I was growing up, we did. We always had a ham. We always had certain food that you could just count your life on just about was going to be on that dinner table. Well, this year is a little bit of a different year for us. And so it's only going to be me and my husband and my daughter that are here. And so I thought we were going to do something different. So what I did is I saw a really good deal. This was a while back ago because I knew we were going to be on our own. The other kids weren't going to be able to make it. And I bought 3 Cornish hens. So my husband is going to cook those out on the smoker for Easter dinner. And then I got to thinking, all right, well, what else can we have that is not something that is tradition, something new, something different? And so what I found is my daughter loves any type of curry. And I found a curry, vegetable, and chickpea soup. And I just thought that sounded really, really good. So anyways, that's what we're going to have. We're going to have that soup. And the other thing that I found is an apple salad recipe. And this is basically spinach with celery and raisins and pecans and apple, and you make your dressing out of Greek yogurt and mayonnaise and some other spices. And to me, that just sounded really nice. And so the other thing I thought is, okay, what am I going to have for dessert? Because Rick and I are trying to improve our health. And so we're just trying to cut out all sugar, all refined sugar is what I'm saying. And I have this, I remembered, I should say, that I had a recipe for a chocolate cake and it takes almond flour, maple syrup, and unsweetened applesauce. So I thought that was interesting. And so we're going to do that. And then I have this chocolate icing recipe that uses maple syrup in place of sugar. So you use, all natural unsweetened cocoa powder and arrowroot powder and maple syrup and salt and vanilla, and I've made this before. This is a to die for chocolate frosting. So anyways, those are the 3 things that I'm going to be making, besides of course, my husband will be making, I should say, the Cornish hens. And I just thought maybe you'd like to share with me what you guys are having for Easter dinner this year. Anyways, we'll move on to our devotion because today is Saturday. And so, we will talk about Saturday before the resurrection. Today is Saturday, the day after the crucifixion and the day before the resurrection. Now, the only specific details we are given for this day is the conversation between Pilate and the chief priests and Pharisees that we read in Matthew 27, verses 62 to 66, which says, "The next day, the one after preparation day, the chief priests and the Pharisees went to Pilate. 'Sir,' they said, 'we remember that while he was still alive, that deceiver said, "After 3 days I will rise again." So give the order for the tomb to be made secure until the third day. Otherwise, his disciples may come and steal the body and tell the people that he has been raised from the dead. This last deception will be worse than the first. Take a guard, Pilate said. Go make the tomb as secure as you know how. So they went and made the tomb secure by putting a seal on the stone and posting the guards. Now, imagine thinking that that was going to make a difference. Of course, Pilate didn't know what we know now. Even in his wildest imagination, he could never have seen all of this coming. That's because Pilate and the Pharisees, well, their concern was protecting the tomb from the outside, not realizing they could not stop what was happening inside the tomb. We know that there are two sets of people here in the background. The first group we see are the religious leaders who did not believe in Jesus and wanted to make sure that that tomb was sealed and secure to ensure that Jesus's disciples would not be able to steal the body. And yet, we know that there is a second group, and that would be Jesus's disciples and his followers who believed in him. Although none of the Gospels record any of the activities of the disciples on the Sabbath after his burial and prior to his resurrection, except in Luke chapter 23, verse 56, which simply writes, "On the Sabbath day they rested according to the commandment." However, this passing reference to the disciples' Sabbath rest may veil the considerable inner turmoil that they were experiencing. It's most likely that the disciples were doing on Saturday exactly what they were doing on Sunday when Jesus appeared in the midst of them, which is they were together behind closed doors for fear of the Jewish leaders. Then again, it seems that the disciples were not the only ones who were afraid. Perhaps the unusual circumstances surrounding Jesus' death, like darkness covering the land, an earthquake, the tearing of the temple curtain, gave the Jewish leaders reason to be concerned. The Pharisees were obviously aware of the predictions Jesus had made about his resurrection, although they were not necessarily inclined to think that his words may actually come true. In fact, their words show nothing but disdain for Jesus, whom they called that deceiver. In some translation, they use the word imposter or fraud. Nevertheless, it is ironic that not only were the Jewish leaders aware of Jesus' prediction that he would rise on the third day, they acted on it, which exhibits more faith than Jesus' own followers were able to muster at the time. Pilate's response, "Take a guard of soldiers," is somewhat ambiguous. It may be that he grants the Jewish leaders their request and provides them with a detachment of Roman soldiers. Or on the other hand, Pilate may be simply telling them, use your own temple police to do the job. In either case, he grants them permission to guard the tomb, and they proceed to do so. While the Jewish authorities didn't believe Jesus' words, they were adamant that the body of Jesus must stay in the tomb and not be removed. In the context of Matthew's account, these activities on Holy Saturday serve as proof that the Romans and the Jewish authorities secured Jesus' tomb, which makes it unlikely that grave robbers, such as Jesus' own disciples, could have stole the body, or that it could have disappeared through some sort of foul play in another way. In this way, Matthew sets up his narrative perfectly for what is to ensue on Easter Sunday at the crack of dawn. For Sunday is coming. God bless, and I will talk to you tomorrow on Resurrection Sunday.